Now we're on live on Facebook here, so you can say hello there, Roisin, to people. We're not on the radio just yet. So, welcome everybody. See if I can get my man here. I do. And what's the other seed today? Charbel. ESTSH. EFGH. EFG. There he is. Charbel. Right in it. God, Manatee, you falter Roche, Dockety, Radio Maria Eric. Welcome to Radio Maria on this Saturday morning, the 24th of June, and thanks for your company. Shout out to everybody again, as usual, on Facebook and YouTube Live as well. If you want to have a connect in there visually, you're welcome to join us. And Roisin, of course, it joins me as she does on a Saturday morning. Good morning, Roisin.
Good morning, Father. Good morning, all.
How's the hot weather been treating you, Roisin?
Oh, it was really nice, Father, to sit inside and not go out. It was very hot, but it was lovely. But would you like to have that kind of weather all the time?
I wouldn't mind it to an extent. It wasn't too sweaty or too uncomfortable, yes. There's kind of a nice, comfortable balance that we like.
We have, yes.
We're so fussy all the time. And your tree in your back garden didn't like it. Your tree just fell over and gave up and said...
Oh my God, we're so blessed, Father, it didn't fall. And the garden was full.
Of children and grandchildren,
yes.
and everything else.
Yeah, having their dinner, having their lunch.
Yeah.
And the next thing just went plop.
Tree went wallop. Gee, just like it just said, okay, I'll give up now. See you later.
Oh,
it's
thank
funny
God.
for a tree, because it wasn't in bad weather, it wasn't stormy, it
It
wasn't
was
anything.
a slight breeze, Father. I couldn't believe
And
it.
it just decided,
you know?
that's it, I'm done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it had my son had taken off some of the branches that he knew it was rotting,
Oh,
but
yes.
he was gone away and for a few days down to Wexford, and he was going to do the rest when he came back. But he doesn't have to do it now because the whole thing is down on
It's
the
on
ground,
the ground, yeah.
right
That's
across the
easy.
garden.
Oh gosh, so it's a big old tree then.
It was a big old tree. Yes, I got it, Father, up in Rostrevor in County Down.
Yes, very good.
Beautiful, and have a bit of home.
Yes.
And anyway, so I've been there for years, 30 years.
All right,
Father, you know.
all right. Fine, mature tree. So yes, gosh, well thank God nobody was hurt or anything.
That
but-
was a blessing. It was an absolute blessing.
No, it storms when these things come down. Very good. So speaking of the north of Ireland, we're heading northwards tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Myself and Tara, please God, will be jumping in the Radio Maria Dluishton, the car, and heading northwards to Omagh. Sacred Heart Church in Omagh. We'll have Holy Mass tomorrow morning, actually, here on the radio. We'll be coming live to you from Sacred Heart Church in Omagh and joining the parish team there, and just a nice little pleasant excursion and visit and a promotion opportunity there in the north.
That was lovely, Father.
So looking forward to that. It's a first, I think, really. We've done, well, there has been other one or two little excursions a few years ago to Newry, I think it was. Joy went up
Yes.
there some time ago.
I did, yeah, I was there,
And,
Father.
were you on that trip too?
Yes.
Right, all right, okay.
Like Newry is not too far from Rostrevor.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. They're all close enough once you start heading that direction at all. It's not far. So the hope is certainly that this will be the first of many. We'll get on the road officially, and with a little bit of local help as well. We're looking forward to meeting some of the locals who are already fantastic listeners of Radio Maria, and we'll meet up and just seek what can we do to take the next good step forward and
Fantastic.
meet and greet people. So very good. If you are interested perhaps in having a visit to your parish, maybe let us know, because it's always very helpful to have a few local contacts just to carry us over and to be present and to tell us the shape of things, and something as simple as how many doors are in the church, because if how much stuff you need to bring. If there's 4 or 5 doors,
to come out,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So you want to make sure there's enough material and so on. Something as simple as that. And all we're doing is very simple. I simply come along to the masses if 'tis I'm there. We'll just say a few words. I'll be celebrating the 9 o'clock mass tomorrow morning in Omagh, and I'll be just saying a few words at the 11 and the 1 p.m. masses. And then just meet and greet people on the way in, meet and greet people on the way out, and just share stories and hand out a bit of literature and encourage people to become listeners to Radio Maria. It's that easy, really. There's no rocket science.
Oh, beautiful,
And
Father.
it's simple, very simple, because, like, again, all the time, what we're seeking to do, not to be a burden in any way or to be kind of selling our wares, not that kind of approach, but to say, look, in the parish, we're here to support you, we're here to serve you, we're here to accompany you. If you'd like us to, come and tell us our story, and if you'd like to listen in your own time, we're here to pray with you as well. So it's just an invitation. That's it.
That's magnificent, Father.
So it's great to get on the road. So Father Billy Walsh was in with us yesterday. Not Father Billy Walsh, Father Billy Swan. Sorry, beg your pardon. There's another priest, Father Billy Walsh. Father Billy Swan from Wexford Town came up. There was a big photo shoot going on in the studio yesterday. Tired of having cameras in my faces now, in my face at this stage. Bring out the worst in me. But just for our social media, to populate our social media and our Please God, our website, which is moving forward a little. It'll be a little while yet, I'd say, before it finally gets there. But all of these things, the idea is to, I suppose, what's the word? Not formalize, but to structure a bit better our video and our visual output, let's say. At any rate, Father Billy came and he was delighted. First time coming to the studio, he happened to be in Dublin, so he was delighted just to pop in. And of course, Father Billy Swan hosts the breakfast show on a Wednesday morning, which we repeat usually on a Sunday morning. So do have a listen back to that. I think yesterday morning he did, or on Wednesday morning, speak about the day that is in it tomorrow for the elderly and grandparents. And we'll chat a bit more about that shortly. So that'll be repeated on Sunday morning, very appropriately tomorrow. And he was just delighted to meet everybody and see, put again, like you and those who've come to us, put faces on the voices and see who's who and so on. But he said, okay, now you're coming to Wexford. When are you coming? Let's fix a date.
Wonderful.
And one of our good friends down there, Pat Fogarty is his name, is a great legionary. And he said, look, can we get Father McCarthy to come down and talk about Frank Duff, talk about the Legion? And so he said, look, maybe we can do a both and here. So he has two churches in Wexford there and in the town, which serve the parish. And he has one of the priests is off sick at the moment, and he has another priest there too. So I think 6 masses between the Saturday night and the Sunday. So
busy.
that'll be a busy weekend. Now we'll drop down, we'll go for a Saturday and a Sunday, I think. It'll be in September, please God,
Please
the
God, that'd be wonderful,
11th
Father.
to 12th of September. So that's opposite ends of the country, from Omagh to Wexford.
You're
I'd
covering
say-
the whole country,
I'm
Father.
telling you, if you were to drive from Omagh to Wexford, Google it there and let me know how long it will take. Probably 4 or 5 hour drive, I'd imagine, anyway. So I know it's about a 2 and a bit hour drive from Dublin to Omagh. And
It's not too long.
And in
And
terms
the
of my,
road is very good. I was up in Belfast, Father, last weekend, and
I'm sure that's a
So,
straight road, all that's
straight
the
road,
M1 all
not
the
a
way up.
bother.
But I think you're going cross country through Monaghan and a few things. And,
yeah.
you know, anyway, sure we'll have a day out of it. But just in terms of the geography of Ireland, and maybe those for outside of Ireland, it just struck me. I was looking at the Google Maps and getting directions and so on. But it's roughly the same journey time from Dublin to Omagh as it is from Omagh to Knock.
All
Because I'm planning on
right.
going to Knock afterwards, and then from Knock to Dublin. It's like
Right.
3 sides of a triangle,
You're
roughly.
covering the whole country,
roughly.
Father.
And I didn't realize it's that much of a journey northwards and then coming back south. Because I'm used to the journey from south to north, from Cork side to Knock.
Yeah,
But that's a fine.
it's a
Fine.
journey, all right, Father.
Like if you were to drive from Omagh to Cork, it would be some spin. Yeah. So.
But
anyways.
you get used to it, Father.
Here, get a plane down from Donegal maybe, and then the way to do it. I don't know. You can do that too. At any rate, that'll be a lovely visit. So again, Omagh tomorrow, please God, and Wexford then in September. And in between, I know Sarah will be, and Kathy as well, will be organising new venues for us in and around the country. I know Marie Blessing is very anxious to get us going as well down in her direction, either Limerick or Killaloe. And we'll certainly have the west of Ireland in mind. We'll pick up our socks again here in Dublin, I think, before too long, Roisin, please God.
Travel about the
And we'll
country too.
get out to a few parishes locally. So
Yes.
from east to west and north to south and everything else. So bit by bit, these things just take a little time and a little bit of effort to get the momentum going. And once it's going, sure, we'll be flying. So if you would like us to visit your parish by way of just a little promotion, just get in touch with us, let us know. And the usual numbers.
Father
Or,
won't.
oh, there she is now. I thought I'd
Well,
catch her on the hop today.
Dublin, if you want to ring this on the ordinary telephone,
Yes.
it's 014123456.
Perfect. You have it
Now,
all.
Father, I'll let you do the rest.
089 467
2000.
There you are. She has the most of it. The most of it. So give us a call. Give us a text on that. Text on WhatsApp only 089 467 2000. Email us info@radiomaria.ie. And if anybody like to write to us,
Oh, it's St. Anthony's Business Park, my favourites. One of my favourite saints.
Mhm.
Vallymount Road, Dublin, 22.
very good. Ballymount as opposed to Ballymun.
Oh, yeah,
Ballymount
Vallymount. Oh, yeah,
Road,
Vallymount.
Dublin,
Yes.
22 there. Great stuff. So I invited your dear friend to come and visit us. She will one of the days, please God. Catherine Wiley. She was on this morning.
Oh, right.
If you were listening in, you might have heard her. She was talking about tomorrow's big day. She was via our WhatsApp number. We're able to can talk to people over the internet via WhatsApp. It's great, and it's very good sound quality too. So she's in Rome, no less, at the moment.
Oh, is she? Oh,
and
wow.
there to celebrate the new grandparents and
Feast
day for the
days,
elderly.
yes, that's
you know.
right, yes, they have that.
So she would like to be on air because she's been on. You've befriended Catherine.
Yeah, well, Catherine, we've been doing it for a good while. Down to Knock, we'd go to the bus ride and they'd all go down the bus and head down to Knock, and there'd be like hundreds of grandparents. It was wonderful, you know.
She said it was one of the biggest pilgrimages after a number of years of the Grandparents Association to Knock every year. It's really found its place on the map, really.
It definitely did.
And she said that back in 2012, at the time of the Eucharistic Congress here, she had petitioned for this to be established as a yearly, a day of commemoration every year for grandparents. And so Pope Francis, the Church takes time to discern these things. And so finally we have a day for grandparents and for the elderly tomorrow especially. And the idea is that from now on it'll be every year in or around the feast day of Saints Joachim and Anne.
Oh, wonderful.
And of course Saints Joachim and Anne are the grandparents of...
Oh, well now, you tell me, Father, I know already.
They're Our Lady's
Our Lady's
parents.
mother and father, yes.
Their parents. So whose grandparents are they?
Well, Jesus.
There you go. How hard is that? Who else would you be thinking of? So the grandparents of Jesus. So the idea being, of course, very simple. Jesus himself has a family tree. He has grandparents too, who, interestingly, I'm sure would have been lamenting the fact that they were separated from him from a very young age, because he was born in Bethlehem, so away from home, and they had to flee to Egypt for how many years?
For safety, Father, hadn't they? Quite a number of years.
And we often get text messages from grandparents like that who can't, for one reason or another, see their grandchildren.
And it's really hard. It's really hard not being able to see them.
So your patron saint, if it is that your grandchildren are, unable to visit you for whatever reason that might be, your patron saints are certainly Joachim and Anne.
Yes.
And we include them, of course, in our family prayer here every day with you as well. So it's a very special day of prayer and thanksgiving for the elderly and grandparents. So there may well be elderly people who are not grandparents, of course. I will never be a grandparent, but I'm a granduncle.
Oh, you're doing fantastic work, Father, to everybody.
I'm a grand spiritual parent, I suppose.
That's it, absolutely. A father to us all.
So I'm in that generation. I don't know about the elderly part. I'm kind of
you're
getting
there
there.
yet. You're nearly there.
Yeah, thanks. It's on its way, all right, certainly. But as a granduncle, certainly I'm up in that bracket, let's say. So I consider myself part of this day tomorrow. And there's a nice little prayer there with that Pope Francis has given to us. But the theme he has given is that of the Lord himself at the Last Supper. I will be with you always. It's a nice theme because it marries in and ties in nicely with the idea of grandparents, wanting to be there always, I'm sure, for their children and grandchildren. And leaving that kind of indelible mark on grandchildren. Like they'll remember you forever as Granny.
Do, please God, in a good way.
Granny Roisin's scones, and do you remember the tree that fell down in Granny Roisin's garden?
True. Well, I hope they remember something nice too, Father.
Well, at least they weren't up at the tree, the young
they were
lads.
very blessed, Father, because they were going around with the hose, skirting each other.
As boys do, yes. Oh, thank God they weren't injured or anything like that. But again, like the Pope, I think there's a layered sort of a message in like it's not just a nice day, say, for grandparents or the elderly. I'm pretty sure he's trying to reach out again to the minds and hearts of people to say, euthanasia is a bad idea.
Yes.
We need to respect,
Yeah.
treasure, value our elderly.
Yes.
And even the thought of the bill for euthanasia, I think, was dismissed from the Dáil
Yes.
recently,
Yes.
and I'd heard there might be efforts to try it again, type of thing.
Yeah. Thank
But
God.
any country where it's been introduced, was I reading a statistic or did somebody say it on the radio? Maybe it was Father Billy was mentioning it. I'm not sure now. But the percentage is it 3%? I think of the population dying by euthanasia in
Yes.
Holland.
You
Some
think
absolutely
yes.
it's just staggering, like
Yes.
unbelievable statistics that once it's introduced, it's like a wedge that all those who are sick or frail or infirm or elderly or disabled, well, there's always euthanasia. There's always mercy killing, dying with dignity. They give it all these euphemisms. And instead of caring for the sick and loving the vulnerable and embracing the elderly, like that's the fourth commandment, we're talking about the
Yes.
commandments earlier on.
Yes.
Like,
It's
what, we're
dreadful.
just going to just do away with it just doesn't bear thinking about it. It's just horrific. And this is the danger that once we've sort of opened the door, the wedge really to the destruction of unborn life in the womb, when we disregard life at that most vulnerable stage.
It's like someone else has to decide whether you're going to live or die,
Yeah,
not God.
that's correct.
You know,
Correct. And where's the dignity? I don't know where the dignity comes into it at all. I simply just
No.
cannot fathom it. It's just frightening stuff in its own way. So now the Pope is saying, hang on a second, hold on, just stall things here, just look carefully and see the treasure we have in our older generation, the wisdom they carry with them, the tradition and the heritage they bear, and what we are how thankful and grateful we are to be to those who've gone ahead of us and have made it possible for us to enjoy the comfort or the education or the the well-being that we have.
And produce a mum and
Huge
dad
deal.
so they could be born type of thing. They don't,
Correct. Because the idea I used to say this in school, that if you start with yourself and you start to build your family tree, that you just go back a generation. Well, you have two parents, and then another one is four parents, another one or four grandparents,
great grandparents,
16 great grandparents,
yes.
32, and you only have to go back, I think it's like 400 years, I think, because if you count a generation, say, between you and your mother lived to nearly 100. Amazing.
99 in 3 months.
Isn't that fantastic? Yeah. And if you put, say, the gap between you and your mum, say 20, 30 years, 40 years, call it whatever number you like, but go back those generations, I think about 20 generations back, at times, say 40 years just to be generous between parent and child. So 2040s would be 800 years, would that be right? Or you could have it, make it 400, so somewhere between 400 and 800 years. It's a little bit random. But you go back that far, you have 1 million direct ancestors on your family tree. Now they're great,
Yeah,
whatever.
they're still
grandparents.
connected. You're still connected.
And this is exactly it. You remove one of those.
Yeah.
Take one of those, anywhere in that million plus that's going on through the generations. Take one out, you don't exist. That's it.
It's it.
It's that sort of
True.
drastic.
So true.
So if we don't cultivate and can care for and respect and nurture our
And thank.
elderly, and
Thank.
thank you, yes, thank you, please, thank you, and I'm sorry, thank
Yes.
you, yes.
When you think about the hard life people had years ago, Father, there wasn't they worked hard and money wasn't that,
Correct.
not a lot of it around, and and yet you were born, you were allowed.
Yeah.
But nowadays, God help the poor children who are being made aborted and that, it's
It's
stressful.
frightening, really. How have we come to this? You're left thinking, and how many are not just their lives taken, but how many wounded as a result. Because again, like the child in the womb, the mother is deeply wounded, for life with the loss of that child. As indeed, you simply, euthanize, an elderly person. There's a family all around that. How do you
Yes.
suddenly just say, well, that's it, you're done, we just throw you on the scrap heap?
No, it
I
doesn't work
don't,
that way,
I
Father.
don't know at all.
I had 2 miscarriages, and I never forget them. They were the saddest times in my life. Like it was the loss of a baby.
Sure.
So I then for some poor girl who had abortion, maybe didn't realise what she was doing or whatever, and to have to live with that,
Yes.
It's really sad.
It is. We don't wish that upon anyone. We pray every possible support for indeed all in that situation. And the promise of life then assures us that in the life to come, you have 2 beautiful children awaiting you. I told you about that lovely story, Heaven is for Real. Remember that?
Oh, do tell me,
get
Father,
this.
yes.
Actually, there's a thought for Father John's book club now, actually.
All right.
It's just, he's always kind of scratching his head although he has quite a few books in line for the book club. But it's the story of a little boy who had a near-death experience. He was only about 4 or something. Colton Burpo, very funny name by our standards, American name. But he had this encounter with Jesus that he was able to tell his parents about and tell them things that he couldn't possibly have known at 4 years of age. He did no concept at all. But the one moment that really just floored his mum completely, just one day out of the blue, he said he met his sister in heaven.
Oh,
And
yes.
you remember that?
Yes,
And
yes.
she said, well, your sister's here. What do you mean you've got a sister here? No, I don't mean that sister. No, you had a baby in your tummy and she died. And I met her in heaven. And she was like, she never told him. He couldn't have known. He was far too young. Couldn't have. So have a look on YouTube. You can follow that through and see the story. They tell it themselves on various channels there. Colton Burpo, Burpo. Heaven is for Real. They made a movie out of it too.
Beautiful.
Made a movie out of it. So, and she was completely just, overcome by that news that her little girl. And he said she can't wait to meet you.
That's
really
wonderful,
absolutely
Father.
fabulous.
Thank you.
And one of the things he said was, she kept hugging me. I didn't want her to hug me, like just kind of typical little boy, get away, I want to play. So
That's
very interesting.
beautiful,
It's a
Father.
lovely story,
Yeah, well, I remember when I had the first miscarriage and we didn't really understand what was wrong, and I was really, really upset, and I went to see the doctor and I said to him, doctor, I feel somebody has died. And he said to me, Roisin, somebody has died. So it was really...
That's again, that touches exactly, Roisin, what we're talking about in terms of life in the womb and the tragedy of abortion and euthanasia the same.
Yes, absolutely.
It's as if it doesn't matter that somebody has died. It's just the new mindset.
Yes.
It's
dreadful.
So
I'll finish the story, Father. When I got pregnant with my daughter, Maeve, when I knew it when I heard I was pregnant, that it came to my knowledge, I said, right, I'll do nothing. So for those 9 months, I did actually nothing. I sat in there in the back garden as much as I could, Father, and I held on
big
to
back
her.
garden with the tree that just fell down.
So I held on to her now,
Good.
Dr. Maeve.
Yes, indeed, lovely. Thank God for that blessing. Yes,
Yeah,
God
it was
is
a
good.
blessing. It was an absolute blessing.
That's good. Yeah, great. Thank God for that. Well, there you are. This is the blessing of life, and this is what we're celebrating tomorrow with the church, with Pope Francis, and there'll be a lovely gathering, of course, in Rome. The numbers are limited, I think, as to who can attend, but Catherine Wiley, of course, will be there representing the Grandparents Association, and parishes are encouraged to take on little initiatives too to celebrate it. So one Catherine suggested was, I think someone in Dublin here, a lady said she would adopt a grave in the cemetery. John had just got unkempt and had been forgotten, and I know was it a family member going back the generations to tidy the grave and just remember them.
Isn't that lovely?
Lovely idea there. I've come across that before in parishes. And what the Pope suggested too, for tomorrow, that children and young people might make a special effort to visit their elderly grandparents, parents I suppose, and grandparents, and their elderly, or make a phone call or just get in touch,
Beautiful.
So again, just excellent idea, really. So very good. Do please get in touch with us. Please do contact us as well. We'll share with you a little of our saints today and talk about the mission of the church maybe a little bit too, if we can squeeze that in. So thanks for your company here. We'll have a little bit of piece of music now, but 089 467 2000 is the text and WhatsApp number. Do get in touch with us. info@radiomaria.ie if you'd like to email us as well. And give a call on 014 123 456. Now I see the first of the two songs, We Are the People, New Covenant Worship song. If you have that down there, Andrew, please. And we do like to hear from you. Again, give a call to the phone line. Mary Kate is ready and Thomas to answer the phone this morning for you too. 014 123 456. And drop a comment here. Leave a comment below, as they say, on Facebook or on YouTube. And we'd gladly welcome that as well. So nice to have you with us if you're watching in. And nice to have you with us if you're listening in too as well. We Are the People, New Covenant Worship song. Back after this. Two and a half is good. Yeah, great. Oh no, usually just one is plenty. Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Andrew. Love it. Thanks, Mel. Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Andrew. Oh, there you go. A little piece of music there. You are my God, we're your people. So, thanks for joining us here on Radio Maria. Father Eamonn and Roisin with you now this morning for our Chatechesis. Good to have your company. Saint Declan is the patron saint of Waterford and Lismore. Bishop Fonzie is the bishop there, of course, a good friend of us here, of ours at Radio Maria. And he sent in a recording about Saint Declan that we played a little bit earlier. How would he not, or how could he not? His own patron saint there in the diocese. But Saint Declan apparently was around before Saint Patrick. So he was a predecessor, forerunner of Saint Patrick, which is interesting that Patrick gets a lot of the credit for, kind of setting things up. But obviously there must have been plenty more with him and saints around the country. So there's little enough known about him according to my usual little book here, and some confusion, it says, even about the chronology of the saint as well. But it seems most likely that he was bishop in the Waterford area, and one of four who lived before Patrick organised Irish Christianity. So there were saints predecessors then of St. Patrick, who are not national saints.
Don't know much about him, Father.
No, we don't hear much, I would say. But according to his life, he was of noble blood. His home was near Lismore. There's a lovely castle there in Lismore in Waterford. He studied at home and abroad, probably in Wales or Gaul, which would have been France. I think Patrick had a similar journey. Of course, there would be nowhere to study in Ireland. You'd have to go abroad to learn the faith. And he founded the church of Ardmore. Ardmore is a lovely coastal
beautiful.
spot there down in Waterford, and there's a lovely round tower there. I don't know if you've ever seen it there. It's very impressive, going back to the monastic ages, which have been long after Declan actually too. So he was consecrated bishop there in Ardmore. Ancient buildings there indicate the sites both of a monastery and a hermitage, and a holy well, which was restored back in the 1950s, and an ancient St. Declan stone on the beach. Somebody sent us in a picture of that actually. Excuse me. And I think it's after St. Declan that it's known as the Dacia, Dacia country. If you're listening in from Waterford, you can fill out some of that rather limited knowledge for me there. But such is all I'm giving here in a little biography. So this is known as a Pattern Week in Ardmore, and attracts lots of pilgrimages that time. A Pattern Week, I think, is from the idea of being a patron saint, and extra celebrations there. So I'm sure in the cathedral today there's surely celebrations in honour of Saint Declan. He's on our list, of course, of Irish saints that we pray at lunchtime. Saint Declan. So that's as much as I know about Decky.
That's lovely, Father. And my son sent a photograph of the stone.
What was you were showing to me?
Yes.
Yes, very good.
Yes, that he was down in Wexford, and down in Waterford actually.
Yeah.
And then he's in Wexford now, but he'd been in Waterford for a week, and he was told me something about the stone had floated across.
Yes, I remember that. Yes, that some angel carried it across her. It
came from anyway. It wasn't a stone from Ireland. They were saying.
Yes. Was there something about a chalice as well?
Yes,
Was there a chalice came
no.
across on the stone, or it was carried back across?
I don't know. I'd love to know the story, Father, because I know very little about St. Declan.
Well, stones don't float, of course, but this particular one.
There you are.
is
Miracles
miraculous.
happen.
Sounds a little bit on the Irish side of things, but a nice tradition nonetheless there. So good. The other saint today actually is Charbel, the Charbel Macloof, a Maronite, or Maronite it says here. A bit more recent, of course, 1898, so just over a century ago. Born in the village of Bek-Aa Kafra in Lebanon, orphaned in early childhood and brought up by an uncle of his. And in 1851, so he would have been well into his 50s by then, he became a monk at the monastery of Our Lady of Mayfug, taking solemn vows in 1853, ordained a priest in 1859. So he was 61 when he was ordained in the 1950s. Is that right? Oh no, that's there's misprint there. He can't have been born in 18. Oh no, I'm sorry. I do apologise. Sorry, that's me just not reading it properly. No, it's true. 1859. So if he was born 1828, yeah, he would have been 60, 30, nearly 30, 31 at this stage. Sorry about that. I got my dates mixed up. But a late vocation at any rate. He lived in the monastery of Saint Maro at Anaya, so that's in Lebanon, for 15 years in all, delighting in singing the office, working in the fields, and reading especially the Imitation of Christ. Again, one of those classics. I'm not sure if Father John is going to catch on that one for the book club, maybe. One to have on your bookshelf at any rate. So in 1866 he became a hermit in a purpose-built house owned by the monastery, and the regime included fasting all year round without meat, wine or fruit. How would you survive? He slept on a mattress of leaves on the floor with a block of wood for a pillow. And there, like St. Anthony, St. Seraphim, he lived the regime of prayer and penance and experienced the temptations of the hermits of antiquity. And this lasted for over 30 years. In 1898, celebrating Mass in the Maronite rite, he suffered an attack of apoplexy just before the consecration. He was carried to his cell and died 8 days later. So the Maronite rite is one of those rites in communion with the Roman Catholic rite. It's an Eastern rite. So, some months after his burial, well-versed phenomena occurred. The body was fresh and incorrupt, and was placed in a new coffin, where a reddish perspiration flowed and caused the monks to change his clothes twice a week.
Gosh.
In 1927, the Patriarch initiated an inquiry and the body was reburied. In 1950, after liquid was observed on the wall of the tomb, the body was found fresh and incorrupt again. Instantaneous cures and miraculous healings were claimed, some of the beneficiaries even being non-Christian. The body was then reburied under concrete. This whole extraordinary story provides a modern, verifiable account of phenomena frequently claimed for medieval saints and frequently derided. So this is a much more modern one. One of Charbel's prayers may be quoted, "Father of truth, behold your Son who makes atoning sacrifices to you. Accept the offering. He died for me that I might have life." So he's beatified in 65, canonized in 1977. So a relatively recent saint.
Beautiful.
And very popular in Lebanon. And you hear tell from me, he might be in your Magnificat today.
There was a little article about him too, there was indeed.
But he's still popular for healing and that. And interesting that his body should be incorrupt.
Yes, well, the saints, Father.
Have you ever seen an incorrupt body, Roisin?
I'm not sure that I can think so.
Kind of
no.
up close and personal, kind of, no?
No.
No. Yeah, it's quite extraordinary. I went to St. Bernadette's tomb, or not even tomb, it's
In
her
Lourdes, Father, was it?
No, she's in a
Oh, she's
place
outside
near
of
near
Lourdes, isn't
Lyon,
she? Yes.
up near Paris, is where her religious community was, and it was years ago now. And her body's in the church there. I suppose where the community she was part of was. It's just so long ago I can't remember the exact location. But she's in like a glass coffin, and
Yeah.
just looks as if she's asleep, and it's kind of
Beautiful.
unnerving. You can go right up to it and look and see that there she is, incorrupt.
That's wonderful, isn't it, Father?
And you're
Well, I've
like,
seen the pictures of different,
Sure.
yeah, but I haven't seen them in reality.
mm.
Beautiful.
And it's a kind of a head scratching moment because you're like, is this real or not real? Or it looks kind of it's sort of wax, like a wax, like Madame Tussauds or something, do you know,
Yeah,
a wax
yeah.
copy or something. And you're still, even though you see it, you're still left with the question. Like it
Yes.
still demands faith, you know.
Faith, is absolutely.
They're like, wow, this is kind of really strange, you know. And I always say that, like, but St. Thomas, you know, you put your fingers here in the holes that nails made, put your hand,
Yeah.
that he still had to make an act of faith.
Even though he
To
saw
believe.
Jesus in reality, yes.
Correct. So, you know, you can have all these amazing miracles and phenomena, but you still have
Yeah.
to say, well, I believe my Lord and my God, you know.
Yes.
So that's St. Charbel there as well, you know. So
Beautiful.
very good. So shout out to Eileen, to Marie, to Dobry as well. You're all sending messages into us there on Facebook. Thanks a minute for that. Nice to hear from you. Good to know you're watching and tuning in. And just hello to everybody who'll watch later on and listen in later on too as well. Do send in your messages. Do get in touch with us too. Oh, look at that. Thanks, Fiona. It's 331 kilometres from Omagh to Wexford. 3 hours and 40 minutes of a drive. The Eamonn cuts the journey down. That's not a short journey, but 3 hours 40 minutes. And if you're listening in the States, you're thinking, "Oh, come on, that's a Sunday drive." Yeah, they do huge distances. They're amazing. Brian was in touch as well. When it comes to passing on the faith and Grandparents' Day, I think of all the generations of ancestors with everyone's family who carefully nurtured and transmitted the faith to their children, often under severe persecution. Amen to that. Very true. To decide to break that Christian thread for your children and the future generations of your family tree is a big decision to take as an individual, and perhaps not often thought through, you know.
It's true, Father.
So a bit like your tree in your garden, you know, if you
Yeah,
cut
if
it off,
falls down,
if
and
it
you
rots
don't look
away,
after it.
you know, how will there be any fruit into the future? That tree is fallen over and that's it.
Yes,
It's not going to
yes.
replant itself.
And it's so sad, Father, to see this happening here in Ireland now.
Mm.
Like the faith in Ireland was so strong.
Yes.
I mean, but we have such wonderful people now. We have. So prayer is the answer.
We'll keep at it. There's a faithful remnant, and as Brian
Yes.
referring back to the ancestors before us who nurtured and transmitted the faith, it was a faithful remnant back in the day too, where they were hiding priests and they were
Yeah.
having mass at Mass rocks, and the faith wasn't going away
No,
any time ever.
it's been scourged.
Yeah, and it simply rerouted and reblossomed again when the time was right once more. You know, so our task is simply to remain faithful, but hopefully without the loss of anyone, to bring everyone with us,
And
so that we
share the
can
word.
everyone that we can drag into heaven with us, bring them along.
True.
And I often think, people, it's they misunderstand the faith. It may be where the resistance or the anger is. I had a little encounter there. I was getting some petrol for the car, and the lady behind the counter, she handed me the receipt. I knew I was a priest, obviously the Radio Maria car, but she just handed me the receipt while she was looking the other way, And I just, I said thanks very much, and I thought, obviously there's some, the look on the face to me said it all.
Was she
Some hurt or some anger or some,
something in her?
and
Or
here
maybe
was, and here was a moment looked at.
she felt guilty,
smile
Father.
and said,
Maybe,
"Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't like to judge anything, but it just strikes me that there's a generation of people like that who, if only they turn back to the Lord,
Oh, yeah.
turn the
Yeah.
face back, and you get a smile and a hello. It might be a step back into
Oh,
a relationship with the Lord again.
absolutely.
Instead of
Yes.
sort of turning away, and
I know.
it's
And
it's
because
painful.
Jesus gives you such an easy life, Father. You follow him, and he carries you.
Come to me, all you who labour and are
Heavily
overburdened.
burdened.
For sure. So our faith is such a great gift and blessing. So thanks for that, Brian. And indeed, you're quite right that it's up to us now to hold fast to the generations to come. And one of the nice things about the digital medium is that at least we can reach a little bit wider, and that as we are sort of podcasting and preserving some of this, if somebody into the future wants to look back or listen back or connect back and hear back, maybe the conversation we're having now, your great-grandchildren will say, well, great-granny is on the internet here, and if I listen to her Saturday morning, she used to be on with that priest, whatever his name was.
Well, I have 6 grandsons now, Father. You never know.
And if you were to leave a message to your great-great-grandchildren, what would you say to them today?
Oh my God, I hope that they will have faith, Father, and that will help them so much, because there's so many things out there against God, that if they have the faith in God, it helps them.
And that you look forward to meeting them in the next life.
Oh,
your
that's true, Father.
great-great-grandchildren.
Yes. Pray for me, don't forget me.
Well, that's a good tip too. That's a good tip. Very good. Our time is gone from us again. Thanks a million to everybody for joining with us. I'll be off next week, I'm afraid. I'll be on a week's holidays, but we'll be connecting in with you from Oma tomorrow. That'll be our little visit and promotion tomorrow. So I'll be with you certainly tomorrow as well. But I'll be back on camera again, please God, Tuesday week once more. So thanks, Roisin.
Thank you, Father. You deserve a rest. My God, you work so hard.
Put the feet up for a small bit anyway. Good.
Don't forget now to come back.
I'd be tempted to stay longer, who knows. Very good. Thanks so much indeed. God bless you all. We'll see you again soon, please, on camera. Do please stay with us on the radio, of course, as well. Time for Angelus